Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about the Gordian knot of healthcare. Okay, for those of you not familiar, the Gordian knot was a puzzle in ancient Greece where they had taken a rope and tangled it up into a ball, and the challenge was to try and unravel it. And there was only one man that was able to do it. It was Alexander the Great. He took out his sword and he cut it. Okay, so that was the solution to the Gordian knot. So, with respect to healthcare, okay, healthcare is a situation where no matter what we try, it seems like healthcare costs keep going higher and higher, insurance premiums keep going higher and higher, and there seems to be no solution. I mean, even as we have advances in medicine, right, and advances in technology, because clearly, medical technology today is more advanced than it was, let's say, 30 or 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Um, with most other things, right, like with computer technology, with communications technology, things generally get cheaper, they become more efficient. But for some reason, the opposite is happening with healthcare, right? Why is healthcare getting more and more expensive? Um, and the understanding why that's happening is very important towards working towards a solution. And I'm not going to try and and give you guys the answer to, or even try to figure out what the answer is. I just want to try and highlight what the problem is with healthcare. Why is it unsolvable? Okay. Well, here's the thing. At some point in our lives, we're all going to be on our deathbed. Okay, every single one of us. Okay, doesn't matter how healthy we are now. Doesn't matter. We're all going to be on our deathbeds at some point in our life. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Normally, right, if when we are sick, we go to the doctor, there is a very there's a solution that is not too expensive. Okay, basically, you get a flu, they give you antibiotics. You break a bone, they put you in a cast. Okay, even if it's something more severe, they do a surgery and then they send you on your way. Okay. But the problem with terminal illnesses, okay, and again, we're all going to be subject at some point, okay, so we're all going to get there. But the problem with terminal illness is that when you're on your deathbed, okay, it is usually possible to extend your life by another year or another month or a few more days or a few more hours, with additional resources. But what happens is that when you get to that point, when you get to the point where you're at the end of your rope, it becomes more and more expensive to try and keep you alive longer and longer. Okay, and again, I'm not being mean here because everybody, including myself, is going to get there. And I've had family members who have been there, and I have family members who will be there. So I'm not being mean here, but we're all going to get there. And when we get to that point, it becomes more and more expensive. And advances in technology do not help that situation. They actually make it worse. Because let's say, whereas maybe 50 years ago, people were dying when they were in their 50s and 60s. Now through advanced medicine, you get they're able to extend people's lives longer and longer, but it takes more and more resources to extend their lives. And it may not necessarily be just, when people get older, but it may just be that even when you're younger, you get some type of a terminal illness. Again, it takes more and more resources to keep you alive. So that's the problem with healthcare. Okay, that's the problem why it's not solvable. It can't be solvable. The reason why this is in my mind is that I saw the big thing today everybody's talking about, on the Democrat side, right? Looking at the Democratic candidates, they're talking about Medicare for all. Okay, they want everybody, they want everybody to have health care insurance, and they're coming up with numbers like, over 10 years, it's going to cost something like $50 trillion. Okay, now here's the thing to understand with this: the number trillion should not exist when we're unless we're talking about something like molecules, okay, or stars. The number trillion is not a realistic number. Okay, even when we're talking about money, okay, it's not a realistic number. the total, as far as like hard currency, like the actual, physical dollars, paper, paper dollars that are floating around, the total amount of U.S. dollars floating around throughout the whole world, not just the United States, but in the entire world, is actually under $1 billion. Okay, I think it's something like 900 million. Okay, so when they're talking about like right now, let's say we have a trillion. When they're talking about like a $20 trillion in debt, okay, when they're talking about $1 trillion, okay, that is a fictional number that doesn't exist anywhere except in a computer. Here's the thing to understand with that number trillion. If I tell you 1 million seconds, okay, 1 million seconds is about a week, okay. If I tell you 1 billion seconds, okay, a billion seconds is 31 years, okay. If I tell you 1 trillion seconds, a trillion seconds is 31,000 years, okay. So, I mean, just trying to fantasize 1 trillion seconds, 31,000 years, I mean, that is beyond what our brains are really capable of understanding, okay? So that's why when we say the number trillion, a trillion does not really exist anywhere except when you're counting molecules or when you're counting stars, okay? It does not exist in real life. There's no such thing as a $1 trillion deficit or a $1 trillion budget. It does not exist. It's not possible. These are numbers that are just being compounded in a computer. So when we talk about, when and I'm not going to say the name, but there was a Democrat candidate that was saying that Medicare for all was going to cost something like $50 trillion over 10 years. I mean, that's a made up number. I mean, that number does not exist. Okay. So and again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about how healthcare is something that it's kind of an open-ended expense, because everybody's going to be on their deathbed at some point, okay, and you can just keep throwing more resources at a dying person and try to keep them alive a little bit longer. So it's really an open-ended expense. And I'll give you guys this example. Okay, at some point, like I said, at some point I'll be on my deathbed. If I have insurance paying for it, I'm going to be like, yeah, sure. I mean, do this procedure or that procedure or the other procedure to keep me alive a few extra days because it's not costing me anything. Okay, so if I get a couple of extra days, great. But if I'm in a situation where I'm paying it out of my pocket, okay, and my goal is basically whatever money is left over at the end goes to my children. Okay, I'm going to think about that a little bit differently. Okay, my situation is now me spending money on staying alive, a few extra hours or a few extra days or even a few extra months, if that's coming out of the money that I'd be giving my children, I'm going to think about that a little bit differently. I'm going to say, wait a second, is it worth it for me to stay alive for a few extra hours or a few extra days or even a month or two, spending, all this, all these thousands upon thousands of dollars? Will that benefit my kids more, or would it be better for them to have the money so that they can use it, for the benefit of my grandkids? Okay, so in that type of situation where I'm actually paying for it, at that point in my life when I'm pretty much on my deathbed, I'm going to say, no, that money is going to go to my grandkids. I'm not going to waste it trying to stay alive for an extra month or an extra day or an extra year, or at that point in my life, it goes to my grandkids. However, like I said, if somebody else is paying for it, right? Yeah, sure, by all means, keep me alive for a few extra hours. I don't care if it costs $1 trillion to keep me alive for an extra 2 hours. So that's the Gordian knot of healthcare, okay? And that's the problem. That's the reason why there's no solution to this, okay? Because at some point everybody's on their deathbed, and you're gonna think about it differently if you're actually paying for it versus if you're not paying for it, if somebody else is paying for it. So something for you guys to think about. And like I said, I'm not telling you guys, what the solution is. I'm just kind of laying it out for you so that we can all, understand the situation, understand, where we're at and why this is, the problem that it is. talk to you guys next time. Oh, by the way, if you like this video, share it, give it a thumbs up. See you soon.